Cleveland area. So in jail, DC and Baltimore guys don't like each other. You know what I mean? So it was a DC guy that I got into it with.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
Gervonta "Tank" Davis recently discussed terrifying experiences from his life in a podcast interview. He also discussed how he was able to maintain his sanity while incarcerated.
Just make the best out of that situation, and that was just me working out every day. Me, you know what I mean, getting up in the, working out was definitely that kept me kept me sane while I was.
Showbiz. The adult thinks Tank will be motivated to defeat Frank Martin in his next battle. Take a look.
You saw Peter McNeely, right? They threw Peter McNeely at Mike Tyson as the first chopped liver to be given to him.
Tank recently stated during a press conference that he is now more hungry because he is out of the boxing ring. Stay tuned to see what Tank and the professionals have to say about his impending match. Frank Martin and Davis are slated to play on June 15. Tank will be fighting for the first time since defeating Ryan Garcia by a knockout last year. Tank's year wasn't easy either because he was in prison. In May, he entered a guilty plea for 4 offenses stemming from an accident that happened in November 2020 and left 4 people, including a pregnant woman, wounded. After that, he was sentenced to 90 days of house arrest at the home of Calvin Ford, his trainer. A judge ruled on June 1st that Davis had violated the terms of his house arrest and had to spend 44 days in a correctional facility. Davis moved without authorization into a new house and then an upscale hotel, for which he received a prison sentence. Tank was also unable to practice and compete, which prevented him from entering the boxing ring until June 15th, when he faced Frank Martin. Tank is determined to continue his winning streak and maintain his perfect record. Tank recently participated in a podcast interview where he discussed his horrific experiences during his 44 days in prison, including being jumped on by a fellow inmate. Tank initially expressed his frustration and need to leave jail, but he had to adjust after realizing he would be staying. He kept himself disciplined by working out every day to stay focused during his time in jail. Talking with older prisoners, especially one named Dana, helped Davis stay grounded despite the difficulties he experienced. Dana gave insightful counsel and helped Davis avoid getting into fights. Davis also mentioned a sparring session in which he was thrown. Davis claimed he wasn't stressing that he aggressively followed the opponent, who eventually grabbed onto him defensively, despite reports that he was harmed. Davis described how he had to press the opponent into the ring, where he was caught with a shot. In response to the criticism he receives as a well-known boxer, Davis called his opponent a liar and overstated his prior triumphs. Despite this, Davis expressed confidence in his adaptability and capacity to change his style to suit his opponent. He talked about how his jail sentence provided him with the extra drive he required to work out hard and maintain his motivation. As evidenced by the recent surprise smacking of Frank Martin during a press conference, Davis is eager to show off his boxing prowess to the world once more. Things might have gone worse if the two hadn't been split apart.
Once again, things heating up already for this main event in WBA Lightweight Championship of the World. Fighters, take your seats.
The two boxers verbally attacked each other during the entire dramatic press conference.
Nobody that's walking with him, holding him hand in hand, is not going to be able to save him June the 15th.
It's just
I'm
me
telling
and
you.
you.
And it's a lot of shit built up. It's a lot built up.
YouTuber Showbiz the Adult talked about the Tank and his performance at the press conference, highlighting the fact that Davis had an immediate psychological advantage over Martin and pointing out that his opponent's confidence was greatly impacted by his body language and strategic breakdown during the press conference. Martin's mental barriers were methodically dismantled by Davis. By being blunt with him and discounting his experiences, Davis methodically dismantled Martin's mental barriers. Showbiz observed that although Martin appeared assured at first, Davis's actions soon caused his confidence to waver. When Martin pointed at Davis, the latter smacked his hand down, demonstrating his power and undermining Martin's confidence even further, along with accusing Martin of being a frontrunner with a frail frame that is ill-suited to take body shots. Davis backed up his accusations with receipts from a prior sparring session. Although it was uncertain whether Martin really understood what Davis was showing him, Shiz said that it was evident from his expression that he was shaken, almost as if he had seen a ghost. In order to underline that their histories in boxing were very different, Martin had only begun boxing at the age of 15, whereas Davis had been boxing since he was 7. Davis pointed out how different their experiences and abilities were. Martin was clearly shaken by this comment. According to Showbiz,
the mental games, the art of war of this press conference, that's about how he goes about his fights. He starts picking and poking and finding first.
Showbiz compared Davis's hunger to Mike Tyson's after his release from jail, suggesting that Davis is prepared to release his pent-up energy on Martin after being absent from the ring due to jail time and house arrest. The press conference revealed Davis's intense focus and desire to prove himself, setting the stage for a fierce fight. Martin also provided his side of the story after the press conference. When asked about Davis's demeanor, Martin noted that both fighters' energies were genuine and unscripted, noting that he appreciated that the tension felt natural.
You know what I mean? Both our energies was natural. It was real. It wasn't faked or scripted. It was all natural, you know? So I felt it, you know, like the energy was just...
Martin explained that the sparring session that Davis had indicated at the press conference was not as important as their impending bout. Davis had attempted to provide some sparring film, but he had not delivered on his promise. Martin stressed that sparring is merely practice and that he doesn't focus on it, because their real battle is what matters most. He thinks sparring should be treated lightly because any fighter can have a poor day, but the outcome of their next session could be very different. The rivalry between Davis and Martin seemed evident during the press conference, but Martin credits it to their mutual respect and competitive spirit. He thinks Davis understands he is up against a genuine contender and acknowledges the dominant alpha characteristics in both of them. Martin welcomed the chance for Davis to underestimate him based on his previous fight, suggesting that it could work to his advantage in the interview. Martin projected confidence and determination to demonstrate his skills against Davis. He is focused on making sure his strategy is effective, particularly with regard to body shots, and wants to ensure that Davis sees him as a credible threat. With this fight, he aims to validate his abilities in the ring and establish himself as a formidable opponent that the boxing world is eagerly anticipating. Reggie Lloyd, a boxer trainer, discussed his thoughts on this clash, emphasizing that it would be a great fight and acknowledging Martin as a true professional who has patiently waited for this chance should Martin succeed in upsetting Davis and taking him down. Lloyd would commend Martin for being prepared and showing respect for both Martin and his trainer, Derek James.
I think Frank Martin is good, but I haven't seen him on an elite level. I mean, you got good fighters and then you got elite fighters. I think Frank Martin is a good fighter. I've never seen him on an elite level.
When asked if he thinks a fight between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia would generate more pay-per-view sales than Tank vs. Frank, Lloyd mentioned the rumor that Davis was planning to move up to 140 pounds. He didn't go into great detail about his relationships with other boxers such as Sean Porter or Richardson Hitchens, acknowledging that discussing third-party matters might not be appropriate. He joked about a double-sided coin used to determine potential matchups involving Shakur Stevenson and Tank, but he emphasized that competitive decisions require both transparency and genuine commitment. Lloyd predicted that the Haney-Garcia fight would garner more attention, pointing out that this would highlight Haney's great attraction as a dancing partner for any boxer in the world. When asked if he had talked to Al Heian about possible fights, Lloyd stated that he hadn't spoken to him directly about Devin Haney or Tank Davis. Lloyd primarily dealt with Showtime executives like Gordon Hall and Steven Espinosa, reflecting on father-son dynamics and partnerships in boxing. Lloyd emphasized the value of having faith and sticking to one's convictions. He thinks parents should have faith in their children's future and support them as they navigate difficult situations. Professional sports career paths state that cooperation and persistence are essential for surviving the competitive world of boxing.
That's like he basically letting everybody know that we're not going to put Tank in any situation where he's not the favorite to win. And I'm not mad at that. That's a business move.
George Mosey shared his thoughts on the bout, predicting that Davis would win. He brought up a statement Floyd Mayweather made a few years prior, indicating that Davis would mostly fight domestic fighters, where he would be the favorite. While acknowledging that the fight is interesting because of Davis's engaging style, Mosi saw this as a business move meant to preserve Davis's winning record and status. Mosi also expressed his confidence in Davis, saying he doesn't expect Davis to lose. However, Mosi doesn't see Martin as a significant threat to Davis. Instead, he believes that only fighters like Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, or Teofimo Lopez could pose a serious challenge to Davis. Mosi called for a knockout, highlighting Davis's history of stopping opponents to end fights. He thinks Davis will enter this fight with a positive attitude and produce a clear victory. He also pointed out that conversations about Davis are often speculative because most of his opponents aren't seen as serious threats. Still, Mosi is optimistic that Davis will dominate Martin. This concludes our coverage for today. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. The fight between Tank and Frank Martin looks to be entertaining, but who will win? Let us know in the comments. We appreciate your attention and hope to see you in future videos. Turn on the bell to receive the most recent notifications so you never miss out on videos like this one.